Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Today, we are strapping in for a complete, contrarian re-education on what it actually takes to build wealth. If you're tired of that standard, run-of-the-mill financial advice that never seems to actually get you ahead, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to dive into some really fascinating insights from a 79-year-old seasoned expert who completely flips the script on how we should all be viewing our money.
Now, to kick things off, I want you to pose the ultimate scenario to yourself. Just imagine you're a 79-year-old multimillionaire who has seen it all, right? You've lived through market crashes, booms, crazy real estate cycles, the whole shebang. Now, imagine you wake up today and you've lost all your buildings, all your gold, all your traditional assets. Everything is gone. But someone hands you exactly $10,000 in cash. What is the very first move you make to rebuild your empire?
I know. You're probably thinking, oh, I'll dump it into stocks, right? Or maybe a high-yield savings account or some real estate investment trust. Wrong. The expert's answer is a massive shock to the system. I wouldn't invest a single buck, not one. Honestly, people actually get angry when they hear this. We are so conditioned to just rush, to throw our cash at traditional routes like crypto just because a neighbor bragged about it, or to eagerly hand our money over to some stranger in a suit. Those impulses, they are the absolute first traps you've got to avoid.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our systematic blueprint to totally unlearn what the traditional school system taught us about money. 1. The $10,000 mistake. 2. Buy mentors, not advisors. 3. Master the selling skill. 4. Capital chases great deals. And 5. The ultimate untaxable asset.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the $10,000 mistake.
So before we can even figure out what to do with our money, we absolutely must understand why letting fear or greed dictate our actions leads to failure. Think about it. School taught you to work for a paycheck, but it literally never taught you what to do once you actually had the money. It's wild how true that is for almost everyone. We spend decades learning how to be good, obedient employees, but zero time learning how to be good allocators of capital. And our source material makes a pretty bold claim here. That educational gap, it wasn't an accident. Because we completely lack this fundamental education, we just operate blindly. We don't have a framework, so we panic.
And man, does that lead us straight into some classic traditional traps. Because we lack that basic financial education, we rush into investments purely out of FOMO, the fear of missing out. We buy whatever random coin our neighbor is bragging about over the fence. Or we hand our hard-earned cash to salespeople just because they look super successful in a sharp suit. These common knee-jerk impulses are exactly what you shouldn't do with your first 10 grand.
Which brings us to Section 2, buy mentors, not advisors.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real issue. If we aren't throwing that $10,000 at crypto, where the heck does it go? Well, there is a massive difference in the financial world between an advisor and a mentor. On one side, you have the advisor. According to our expert, an advisor is often just a salesperson in a nice suit who pushes whatever financial product their company tells them to move that month. But on the other side, you have the mentor. A mentor is an entirely different breed. A mentor actually has scars. They've lost money, they've battled back to make it again, and they have actually done the hard work themselves. You want the person who wants your true success, not just your money.
So here is the chronological 3-step playbook that our seasoned expert actually follows to build real wealth. Step 1, take that cash and buy a mentor. Literally pay for access to someone who has the scars. Step 2, buy a skill. Step 3, find a deal. It sounds ridiculously simple, right? But the execution is exactly where the magic happens. Let's look a little closer at Step 2.
Moving on to Section 3, master the selling skill. Notice the playbook didn't say, go buy a 4-year degree. Instead, it says, buy a skill. And selling? Well, selling is simply the skill of putting a deal in front of a human and getting them to say yes. It's all about marketing and communication. Our source points out a pretty harsh reality here. The poor are fundamentally afraid of selling. They completely shy away from it. But the rich absolutely master it. They lean heavily into communication because it's the ultimate engine of wealth.
Just think about the contrast in power dynamics for a second. A salary is income that someone else gives you. It is entirely dependent on someone else's permission. Selling, on the other hand, is income that you completely control. By mastering this one specific skill, you shift all the power directly into your own hands. You're no longer relying on a college degree or a boss's goodwill to determine your worth.
Next up is Section 4, Capital Chases Great Deals.
Okay, so you have the mentor and you've bought the skills, now it's time for deals. But we have to totally shatter the biggest misconception out there about real estate. The barrier isn't the down payment. It's not knowing how to find the money. Most people stop before they even start because they look at their bank account and say, well, I don't have 20% to put down. But listen, you don't beg a bank for a loan. Instead, you use the high-income skills you just bought, communication and selling, to learn exactly how to raise capital and analyze cash flow.
So, the crucial point is that a truly great deal literally finds its own money. If you can just learn to analyze cash flow and spot the properties that everyone else simply drives past, the funding will naturally attract itself to you. Investors are literally lining up for great deals. Capital chases great deals. Your job isn't to use your own $10,000 for the down payment. Your job is to stand right in the middle, exactly where the money meets the deal.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate untaxable asset. To pull this whole playbook off flawlessly, you need one major mindset shift. You've got to watch your language, because the words we use internally can act as our biggest enemies or our greatest allies. Take the phrase, "I can't afford it." According to our expert, this is a period. It just shuts the brain down completely and makes you entirely helpless. Conversely, asking, "How can I afford it?" is a question mark. One phrase totally closes the mind, but the other forces it to wake up, get to work, and find real solutions. If you use the wrong language, you are going to fall victim to the two ultimate wealth destroyers. And trust me, these two emotions will destroy $10,000 way faster than any market crash in history. Fear makes you stay trapped in a safe savings account, while inflation quietly eats your purchasing power alive. On the flip side, greed makes you take stupid risks on a so-called sure thing, like that crypto coin your neighbor wouldn't stop talking. The only real solution to this ignorance is incredibly simple. Knowledge is the absolute only armor you have. It takes that paralyzing fear and totally transforms it into boldness. And how exactly do you get that knowledge? You go right back to step 1 and step 2. You acquire it through mentors who actually have the scars and by developing high-income skills like selling. That is literally the only real way to shield yourself in the financial world. Which brings us right back full circle to the overarching philosophy of our 79-year-old expert. Remember, he wouldn't touch the stock market. He definitely wouldn't buy the coin. He says, enthusiastically, "I'd put the money into the one asset nobody can tax, steal, or crash, my mind." That is where the absolute highest return on investment truly comes from. Every single piece of his plan relies on this one foundational truth. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own financial framework today. Think deeply about who you are actually listening to. The very next time someone tries to sell you on an investment, I want you to ask the person handling your money this exact question. Have you actually done what you're telling me to do? Watch their face when you ask it. Let that reaction dictate your next move. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your mind open, and I will see you next time.